What is going on, traders? Welcome back to the Traveling Trader. In this video, we're going to be discussing NIO stock, more specifically, a very important indicator that nobody here on YouTube talks about, of course, because everyone and their mother bought a camera and decided they wanted to start a trading channel for some reason. But all kidding aside, I'm going to be giving you my NIO stock prediction, as well as looking at this extremely valuable indicator that I talked about. And then I'll provide you with one of the most lucrative long-term NIO stock options trading positions. But let me just get it out of the way. No, this is not my first video on NIO. I did a video on NIO here, and in the video before last, when I was on vacation in Mexico, I talked about Workhorse, Hyliion, NIO, and Tesla. And in that video, I said NIO was a definite buy and hold for the long term. And I just want to say, if you get anything out of this video, leave it a big fat thumbs up. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know how long you've been holding NIO. I know a lot of you guys from the comments in previous videos have been holding it at different price points. So let me know in the comment section whether you've been holding NIO and what your cost basis was. And if you want access to all of our trades, all of my trade alerts and my portfolios, link is in the description below. So sign up, it's a great value. So let's talk a little bit about the fundamentals, and we'll get into the charts and the technicals, and I'll give you my price prediction, and I will also show you my secret indicator that I was talking about. And lastly, I will give you my super NIO trade for the long term. Let's get right into it. So I did a whole video months ago about why I was super bullish on NIO for the long term. I'm not going to rehash every single point in that video, but in summary, China is the largest car market in the world. They are also the largest EV market in the world. And if we look at this chart, you'll see that China's EV sales are growing exponentially year over year, but we are still in an infant industry. And rarely are we in a position to see the paradigm shift come well before it is here. And aside from the auto industry, China's GDP growth is also expected to rise exponentially. We see estimates by this Bloomberg article saying that China's GDP will grow by 8.2% next year from 1.9% this year. So almost a 4x gain next year. All right, so aside from China's growth in general, let's take a look at NIO specifically. Let's look at its revenue growth year on year. And if we look on Seeking Alpha, which is one of my favorite sites, by the way, you could see that this represents NIO's 5-year growth. Obviously, they haven't been around for 5 years, so this is more like a 2.5-year growth. But the revenues essentially went from 7 million to 1.38 billion currently. Now, they are not profitable yet, but Tesla wasn't profitable until its 10th year. And although there are other EV manufacturers, specifically in China, that are actually profitable at the moment and that sell more cars than NIO is quickly building brand loyalty in China, unlike any other EV car manufacturer there. They are also at the forefront of a lot of innovation. One of their main draws is what they call BaaS, or battery as a service, where you can literally swap out the battery in your car at these battery stations instead of having to charge it and wait for the battery to charge. You pay a subscription and you can swap out your empty battery for charged ones. All right, on to part number 2. Let us take a look at some of the technicals now, and then I will give you an insight into that very valuable indicator that I was talking about that really reflects the ultra bullish sentiment on NIO at the moment. Then I will give you my NIO stock price prediction and go over the ultimate NIO stock options trade. So let's take a look at NIO's chart here. In my NIO video from months ago, I said that $30 was a very realistic price point for NIO. So even if we stick to the conservative number, the low number of $30, and we go back to NIO's chart, I mean, that represents from where we are currently, 70 to 72% increase. But there are a few things I want to outline here. First, gap ups. When you see these gap ups, I identified them here in these yellow arrows, right? This is when the stock opens up basically higher than it closed the previous day, and it leaves this gap up. NIO does very well with these, going all the way back to May. Every time it gaps up, we see the price rally some more, consolidate a bit, and then we see another gap up, more consolidation, then another gap up. There's actually another one here that I missed. Now, another thing I want to alert you to is how NIO reacts to upgrades, right? If you remember, in June, we got an upgrade when Goldman Sachs upgraded it to a measly $6.40. And in September, when Deutsche Bank upgraded NIO's stock price to $24, that was the price target. And as you know, just yesterday, it was upgraded by JP Morgan to $40. So how does NIO react to these price targets? Well, if we take a look in June, the day it received the price target, NIO jumped 20%. And if we take a look in September, it didn't react immediately. It was in this period of consolidation, right? Sideways is fine. It just allows the stock to keep moving up when it's still in an uptrend. Consolidation or continuation is actually something you want to see as a trader. It gives the stock room to breathe and traders aren't necessarily scared by hyper growth. But a month later, we eventually got to that $24 price target and we are now sitting at $28. So in terms of stock price prediction, I am giving it a modest $35. Don't ask me when. I'm not a time traveler and I'm not a wizard, but sometime in the midterm, you could see NIO creating, this sort of repeating pattern here where we get these peaks, and then, like I said, you get these periods of continuation after the peaks. This is very evident in its chart. So it is very likely that we will see a peak similar to the last two, right? Followed by a continuation. Obviously, a stock doesn't have to do exactly what it did before, but trend is your friend until the end. So how high will this peak go? Well, if we take a look at something like the pivot points, you could see that when NIO hits these peaks, it tends to hit the R4, R5 level. So currently we are past the R2 level, and I can easily see NIO hit this R4 level, which would represent $35. Now, I'm not saying it's going to shoot straight up to $35, right? Especially because we have earnings coming up, and you can see how NIO has reacted to earnings before. So the last two earnings, NIO was actually very stagnant leading up to and after the earnings announcement. So it could be, it is very realistic to assume that earnings, we trade pretty flat leading up to and shortly thereafter the earnings, unless we get some unexpected announcement where NIO has above expected deliveries or something. But 35 is my modest target this year for NIO. All right, so let me show you the data in the indicator that nobody talks about. And I'm referring to option open interest, specifically call option open interest. So let's pop over to NIO's open interest, and you could see that regardless of which option expiration you pick, whether we pick the 23rd, the 30th, the 6th, you could see all of this long buildup, right? And there's a huge amount of open interest on these calls. You could see for October 23rd, there is 78,935 open interest contracts on NIO. Now, it is a very good sign when a number of these things are going up or increasing at the same time. So open interest plus an increase in the stocks volume and the options volume, which we have with NIO, and an increase in implied volatility, which means that options traders are buying call options regardless of how high implied volatility is. So they are ultra bullish on NIO's future. Because if they weren't, when implied volatility goes up, as an option buyer, you would shy away from buying call options. So it's really the ultimate trifecta here. And when you see this with a stock, then you know that the sentiment in the market is really bullish. Now, one more data point I will offer you is NIO's short interest. If you look at NIO's short interest, it's in the single digits. It's 6.37%, meaning the market is not shorting NIO. Tesla's short interest is higher than NIO's. It's 7.69%. If you compare it to Workhorse, you'll see Workhorse's short interest is 23.76%. Compared to something crappy like Nikola, you'll see that it's 23.45%. So NIO's short interest is actually lower than all of those EV companies that I talked about earlier, 6.37%. All right, part 3, let us talk about the ultimate NIO trade, in my opinion, if you are ultra bullish on NIO for the long term. Instead of just buying the stock, what you can do is buy LEAPS. LEAPS stands for long-term equity anticipation securities, really just a fancy way of buying long-term call options that expire a year or longer in the future. And again, if you want access to all of my trades, link is in the description below. So how would we trade NIO specifically with regards to LEAPS? Well, you could see here that NIO's options go all the way out to January 20th, 2023. So let's pick this as a date, which is more than 2 years out. You can see that it's 827 days out. Now, as you know, with American options, each contract represents 100 shares. So the beautiful thing with LEAPS is that you can actually speculate on a stock's price with minimal capital investment. You don't have to put up the capital necessary to buy 100 shares. So for instance, this 30 call on NIO expiring January 20th, 2023 is $13.15. But obviously you're going to have to multiply it by 100 because it represents 100 shares. So it's going to cost you $1,315. If you were going to buy 100 shares of NIO currently, it would cost you $2,800 because the price per share is $28. But these leaps also leverage your gains. So if the stock price moves a certain percentage, these leaps move disproportionately higher than the stock. I will give you an example right now. Let's just talk about let's just say the 30 strike price. If we right click on this view option and chart, you could see this is the history of the leap. It's currently priced at $13.15. So let's just say here somewhere at the bottom, September 23rd, the low on this was $6.56. So if we pull up a calculator, you could see that 13 for 15 divided by $6.56. So since September 23rd, this leap gained 100%. Let's compare that to NIO's stock price. If we go to NIO's chart, let's look at what the price was on September 23rd. So we're comparing apples to apples. The low was $17.80. The current price is $28.07. So if we take $28.07 divided by $17.80, you'll see that the stock only gained 57% only. I mean, that's still a lot. But if you had the leaps, you would have made almost twice as much as if you had the stock, and your capital investment is a lot less than the stock itself. So with that said, if you are bullish, ultra bullish on NIO, then you'll want to look into buying a leap, such as the $30 call expiring in January 2023, or you can even go higher and buy the $35 call, for instance, or even the $40 call, but the higher the delta, the more money you'll make if the stock price goes up. Now, you'll want to deploy this preferably on a down day and not on an up day, because when the stock prices go down, then the price of calls go down. So you will get a discount for your leaps. So if we take a look at NIO's stock, for instance, the next time that it retraces back to the 50 moving average, because obviously everything, regresses to the mean. So the next time that it retraces back down to the 50, to the 21 EMA, or even the 50 moving average, then you will want to deploy this strategy for the long term if you are ultra bullish on NIO. And for those of you that just want an easy strategy, you can always just dollar cost average, just like you would any stock that you want to hold for the long term, and or wait for the stock to retrace to one of the major support levels before picking it up for your long-term portfolio. Anyway, that is it for this video. If you got anything out of this video, leave it a big fat thumbs up. Leave it in the comment section below. Let me know if you're in NIO and what your cost basis was. Sign up if you want access to our trade alerts. Link is in the description below. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Stay safe out there, traders. Peace.